Hey everybody, Chris here from the Adler Planetarium. As the collections manager here, it is my job to care for roughly 6,000 rare books, manuscripts, and artifacts in our historic collection here. Now we try really hard to make sure that those objects are cared for and are safe throughout the year. We have environmental checks that run all the time. We do frequent spot checks on the objects and the books, both on display and in storage. But every once in a while, some of our objects in our books need a little bit of TLC. That happens, that's pretty typical. Sometimes it's just general wear and tear, sometimes accidents happen. But when they do need some care and some cleaning and some repair, we bring our objects to our conservation lab, which is the space that you see here behind me. Now this is deep in the basement of the Adler in our storage areas, but let me give you a little bit of a tour of some of the cooler features down here to show you how we care for our objects. One of the biggest things we have here in the conservation lab is our fume hood, which you see over here over my shoulder. Now we use a lot of corrosive materials sometimes to clean some of our objects, especially some of our metal objects, and those make fumes that are really not healthy to be breathing in by people. And so what this does is there's a giant fan up top here, and you basically work on your objects behind this glass, like that, and this giant fan sucks all the fumes up and out of the building so you don't have to breathe them in. It's very safe. It's a lot better than just doing it out here in the open. And then down here behind me, under the fume hood, you can see our collection of very corrosive, not super safe chemicals that we sometimes use. A lot of metals require acids that eat away at the metal to clean them and fix any imperfections and things like that, as well as just general alcohols and cleaning solutions and things like that that are not super healthy for people, but are great when repairing objects and making them look good. This little 2001 Space Odyssey robot-looking thing here is basically like our fume hood. It is a air purifying system. A lot of our objects are odd sizes. Some are big, some are small, some are portable, some aren't. So we need to be able to take a portable air purification system with us wherever we go if we're working on objects using corrosive materials or if there's any fumes coming off of them that we can't be breathing in. So that's what this guy does. He helps purify the air. He's basically a mobile air purifier. I need to name him. Every single cabinet and drawer that you see in this conservation lab is jam full of supplies and tools and fabrics and boxes and all sorts of things that we use. Some of them are pretty common, like scissors and pencils and rulers and things like that. Some of them are a little more uncommon. This is a mercury spill cleanup kit. A lot of the objects in our collection contain mercury. Some of our sundials do, some of our clocks. Our largest clock here in the collection contains probably about 2 cups of mercury stored in glass vials. And so if those were to break, we definitely need a way to emergency clean that up. It has not happened yet, knock on wood, hopefully it never does. One of the things that gets the most use down here in our conservation lab is this old school giant paper and mat board cutter. We love this thing. There's actually very few people in the United States anymore who are able to sharpen it and service these old machines like this. As you can see, it's probably from, I would guess, the 50s or 60s. We use this thing pretty much every day to cut mat boards, to cut papers for object conservation and object storage. But we need to get it sharpened. It's getting a little dull, but it is probably the most used thing in this entire conservation lab. This is... I have no idea why we have that. This bin behind me is our emergency preparedness kit. It has basically all the supplies we would need if there is a massive emergency in the building that requires special mass attention for objects, such as if there's a leak and we need to remove a lot of water from objects or books, if there's a fire and we need to mitigate some smoke or water damage from that. As you can see, it's covered in dust, which is a good thing. That means we haven't had to use our emergency preparedness kit, but it's always good to have. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And that's pretty much all the big stuff in our conservation lab. There's obviously a lot more here that you don't see that's really not all that interesting. A lot of tools and equipment that you would find in, let's say, your average normal garage, like drills, Dremels, saws, knives, putty knives, things like that. Things that just kind of come in handy every once in a while for very specific objects and very specific uses. Usually objects don't want to find themselves here. If they do, it means there's usually some work being done on them. But that's okay, that's all part of the museum and conservation and collections process for most historical institutions. So when they do come down here, they are well cared for with a fully stocked conservation lab. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.